Bioscope time. We love movies. Welcome to our channel, with a new movie recap. Spoilers ahead. Guardians of the Galaxy. Volume 3. Is a superhero film based on the Marvel Comics. It is the third movie in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie series. Let's jump into the movie. The film stars with a cage of a group of adorable baby raccoons, happily playing with each other. However, their playful mood is disturbed when a threatening figure, the High Evolutionary, approaches the cage. His focus possesses on one raccoon in particular, Rocket. In the present time, the Guardians of the Galaxy have taken refuge on Nowhere, where they've established their headquarters. Peter is still struggling with the loss of the original Gamora, and has been drinking himself unconscious, leaving Nebula to help him to his room. Meanwhile, Kraglin and Cosmo engage in a friendly competition, testing their telekinetic abilities. Kraglin trying to master using Yondu's arrow with his fin, but he's yet to fully hold its power. From the deeper out of space is Adam Warlock, a being created by the sovereign high priestess Aisha, dashing towards Nowhere at full speed and crashing with Rocket. The Guardians quickly get into action. But during the combat, Adam temporarily separates Groot's head from his body. Thankfully, Groot proves to be strong and survives the nightmare. Adam's primary target becomes Rocket, and as he gravely wounds the raccoon, Peter and Mantis rush to his aid. Meanwhile, Drax takes on the challenge of confronting the Golden Assailant head-on. But before Adam can deliver a fatal blow to Drax, Nebula interferes and pierces him with one of her blades. The med pack that Peter uses to tend to Rocket's wounds is not working, posing a serious threat to the raccoon's life, prompting Nebula to order its removal. Adam retreats, leaving Nowhere in ruins. As the Guardians carry Rocket to safety, he appears to have a flashback to his past, recalling the time when he was subjected to experiments by the High Evolutionary. Marked as 89P13, Rocket found himself kept with 3 other animal test subjects, an otter with mechanical arms, a walrus with wheels for legs, and a rabbit with various mechanical attachments. These unlikely companions befriend the scared and lonely Rocket, providing him comfort during the suffering. The Guardians make a shocking discovery that Rocket has a hidden kill switch inside him, which could detonate if they attempt surgery without the correct precautions. They assume that Adam was sent specifically to retrieve Rocket. Nebula learns that there's a passkey capable of overriding the kill switch, but it is in the possession of Orgocorp, the same company that conducted experiments on Rocket. Without wasting any time, Peter takes charge and leads the Guardians on a mission to save their friend. On Counter-Earth's Ceriti lab, the High Evolutionary meets with Aisha and Adam. Not only do they work under him, but the High Evolutionary also takes credit for creating various races and species across the galaxy, including the Sovereign. He sent Adam to bring back Rocket, considering him his most prized asset. When the High Evolutionary attempts to punish Adam for failing in his mission, Aisha pleads for mercy, as she has a deep emotional connection with Adam, similar to a mother-son relationship. The High Evolutionary then tells his henchman Thiel that he knows where the Guardians are headed. The Guardians arrive at the Orgoscope, the location of Orgocorp headquarters. While they prepare to breach the protective shield, Peter engages in a conversation with Mantis about his past. He reveals that he has never returned to Earth since the Ravagers took him, and the only person he might know there is his grandfather, whose fate remains uncertain. Suddenly, the Guardian's ship is boarded by Ravagers, led by Stakar Ogord. A surprising addition to their group is the alternate version of Gamora, who has been secretly communicating with Nebula. Although this Gamora is unfamiliar with the rest of the Guardians, Peter is surprised by her presence. Stakar provides the team with spacesuits and instructions on how to avoid Orgus entries while they attempt to access Orgocorp's records for information about Rocket. Another flashback reveals Rocket's remarkable intelligence, which is why the High Evolutionary kept him in close proximity. During this time, he observed the development of Counter-Earth, where the High Evolutionary dispatched his completed experiments. The High Evolutionary demonstrated to Rocket a machine he used to push the evolutionary limitations of certain animals. However, the results were far from perfect, yielding only mindless monstrosities that he would ultimately dispose of as failures. Surprisingly, Rocket seemed to grasp the problem involving the proteins in the organisms they were experimenting on. The Guardians make their way down to the Orgoscope, and Peter tries to connect emotionally with Gamora, only to be rejected, as she is not the same Gamora he once knew and loved. They hide their spacesuits, A mistake in stashing their spacesuits in wrong place results in them getting lost in space. They are soon discovered by Orga sentries, led by Master Karja. Quick on their feet, the Guardians pretend to be part of the workers. Peter, Gamora, and Nebula separate from the group, while Drax and Mantis team up. Along the way, they encounter an Orgo employee named Ura and force her to lead them to the records. Just as they locate Rocket's file, the Orga sentries give chase. Drax and Mantis bravely attempt to fight off the guards. But Karja's shots hit Drax and Nebula, leaving them weakened. Peter manages to convince Ura to help them, granting him access to their systems, allowing him to disable the artificial gravity and shake off the pursuing Orga sentries, enabling them to return to their ship. In yet another flashback, Rocket is portrayed with his animal friends, together dreaming of their freedom. They all take names for themselves during this time. The otter names herself Lilla, the walrus goes by Teefs, and the rabbit chooses the name Floor. Inspired by a rocket flying over Counter-Earth, Rocket selects his name as well. The Guardians view Rocket's file, witnessing the nightmarish horrors he endured at the hands of the High Evolutionary. Unfortunately, the file doesn't contain the passkey they need. But they learn that it exists in the memories of a device implanted in Thiel's head. Peter expresses his intention to locate Thiel. Gamora argues against the plan. However, Nebula reminds Gamora that Rocket is still part of their family, leading her to support the mission. A meeting occurs between the Orga sentries, Aisha, and Adam, during which they capture a Ravager and his pet. Aisha aims to have Adam interrogate the Ravager for information about the Guardians. But Adam ends up using his powers to fatally harm the captive, much to angering Aisha. Moments later, Aisha overhears Gamora communicating with the Ravager via radio, unknowingly revealing their coordinates and accidentally revealing their destination. Meanwhile, Adam takes a liking to Blurp. In another flashback, the High Evolutionary excitedly presents Rocket as an eyewitness to his latest experiments. Having incorporated Rocket's suggestions about the proteins in the animals, he has now perfected the process, resulting in more advanced creatures. However, the High Evolutionary cruelly put down Rocket, treating him as a failed experiment full of weaknesses, before ordering the burning of the perfected creatures. The Guardians arrive at Counter-Earth, where they find numerous inhabited neighborhoods significant of those Peter knew from his past. Inhabited by humanoid animal creatures, the Guardians' company causes a ruckus when Drax accidentally throws a ball at a child's head, leading to the inhabitants attacking them with garbage. Groot interferes, transforming into a gigantic form to scare the crowd away. Grateful for Peter's help, a Batwoman invites him and his friends into her home, and they collaborate to locate High Evolutionary Station in search of Thiel. The Bat family allows Peter, Nebula, and Groot to use their car for the journey. Upon arrival, Peter is escorted inside by High Evolutionary's guards. A final flashback reveals that Rocket managed to steal a device that unlocked the cells of him and his friends to their escape plan. During this act, Rocket and Lilla shared a heartfelt embrace. But the High Evolutionary caught up to them and fatally shot Lilla as a punishment for escaping. Stunned with grief and rage, Rocket fiercely attacked the High Evolutionary, clawing and harming him. When two of the High Evolutionary's henchmen arrived, Rocket killed them in revenge. But they had already shot and killed Teefs and Floor. Rocket escaped alone, mourning the loss of his beloved friends. Back on Counter-Earth, War Pig, one of High Evolutionary's followers, launches an attack on the Guardian ship, targeting Gamora and Rocket. However, Adam intervenes and quickly eliminates War Pig. Peter finally meets High Evolutionary and convicts him for his actions. High Evolutionary, unrepentant, announces his plan to destroy the planet and start all over. Counter-Earth begins to get destroyed, along with its inhabitants. Adam attempts to reach Aisha but witnesses her ship exploding. Amidst the chaos, Peter and Groot fight off High Evolutionary's henchmen and escape with Thiel. Groot saves them from falling by creating temporary wings. But Peter ultimately injures Thiel, extracting crucial information from him. The rest of the Guardians, aside from Peter and Groot, return to their ship as the planet collapses around them. In the ensuing confusion, Mantis, Drax, and Nebula find themselves on High Evolutionary's ship, while Peter and Groot make it back to their ship along with Rocket and Gamora. Nebula blames Drax for their current difficulty, while Mantis tries to defend him despite acknowledging his tendency to make reckless decisions that lead to trouble. In a frantic race against time, Peter, Gamora, and Groot endeavor to use the passkey to save Rocket. However, Rocket finds himself in a strange white realm, where he is greeted by the spirits of Lila, Teefs, and Floor, seemingly welcoming him to the afterlife. Rocket seems ready to join them until Lila tells him that he still has a purpose left in his life. They share a touching moment with a kiss. And Rocket miraculously returns to life, embracing his relieved friends. The group receives communication from Nebula, who has discovered a large group of captured children subjected to High Evolutionary's experiments. Hearing Rocket's voice over the radio, they rejoice in his survival. Unfortunately, High Evolutionary captures Nebula, Drax, and Mantis, informing the other Guardians. Peter takes charge and leads the team in a mission to rescue their captive friends, seeking assistance from Kraglin along the way. Drax manages to comfort the captured children by speaking their native language, even making them laugh with his playful antics, reminiscent of his relations with his own daughter. Alongside Mantis and Nebula, he is placed in a room with 3 obelisks, but Mantis uses her powers to win them over, recruiting their help in the upcoming battle. Kraglin and Cosmo work together to bring Nowhere closer to the ship, but they face attacks from High Evolutionary's forces. In a crucial moment, Kraglin receives a vision of Yondu, encouraging him to fly the arrow using his heart. Following Yondu's advice, Kraglin successfully destroys High Evolutionary's drones, while Cosmo uses her telekinetic abilities to deal with an approaching henchman. The henchmen attempt to revolt, but High Evolutionary uses his powers to destroy all of them. The Guardians reunite, joined by Adam, and together, they engage in a fierce battle against High Evolutionary's army, overpowering them completely. Cosmo uses her powers to bring the ship closer to Nowhere, enabling the rescue of the captive children, whom the Guardians take to safety. Before departing, Rocket discovers a group of baby raccoons and other animals in captivity, and he starts setting them free. High Evolutionary challenges Rocket and nearly kills him, cruelly labeling him as nothing more than a failed experiment. However, Rocket stands his ground and reminds High Evolutionary of his true identity. The other Guardians arrive, and they deliver a well-deserved punishment to High Evolutionary, with Nebula unveiling the scar Rocket inflicted upon him earlier. While Rocket chooses not to kill High Evolutionary, they leave him to face the consequences as his ship begins to explode. Rocket manages to free the other animals, but Cosmo's powers falter, putting Peter's life at risk in the cold vacuum of space. Thankfully, Adam comes to Peter's rescue, flying him back to Nowhere safely. After their victorious return to Nowhere, the Guardians gather for one final meeting. Gamora decides to continue working with the Ravagers, while Peter finally resolves to return to Earth. Mantis expresses her desire to go on board on a personal journey of self-discovery. Despite Drax offering to accompany her, Mantis insists on going alone, with Nebula suggesting that Drax would be better suited to looking after the children, as he has a natural fatherly disposition. Nebula takes charge of Nowhere's affairs, while Peter passes on his leadership mantle to Rocket, appointing him as the leader of the next Guardians team. As Gamora prepares to leave, there's a subtle sense of attraction and flirtation between her and Peter. Peter eventually returns to Earth, reuniting with his grandfather, Jason. After parting ways, Rocket inherits Peter's Zune and plays Dog Days Are Over for the entire Nowhere to enjoy and dance to. Mid-credits scene, Rocket and Groot now lead a new team consisting of Kraglin, Cosmo, Adam, Blurp, and one of the orphan children, Philo. As enemies approach, Rocket takes the lead, playing Come and Get Your Love, as the team heads off on their next thrilling adventure. Thanks for watching. Subscribe our channel and press the bell icon for more entertaining videos.